Helo, noswaith dda a chroeso. Welcome everyone to the National Seren Academy Conference, Cynhadledd Genedlaethol Academy Seren. Glenda dwi. Some of you remember me from the Seren launch in October. A dwi wrth fy modd yn cael dychwelyd atoch chi ar gyfer y gynhadledd yma. Yes, I'm delighted to be with you once more to host the virtual National Seren Academy Conference 2021. Byddai gyda chi am y 4 diwrnod. I'll be your host for this 4-day Seren Academy Conference yn cyflwyno'n ddwyieithog, presenting bilingually in English and Welsh throughout the event. A massive diolch yn fawr iawn I bawb. Thank you very much for taking the time to attend this conference. And I'd like to thank all our contributors who've given up their time to provide you with their insight and knowledge at this conference. Ac felly, pam rydyn ni yma? So why are we here today? Wel, chi yw'r rheswm. As I said at the Seren launch, you've all been selected because you have the potential to study and succeed at leading universities here in Wales, the UK and overseas. A beth sydd gyda ni ar eich cyfer? So what does this conference offer you? Well, over the next 4 days, we invite you, your parents and carers and teachers, to engage in information, advice and guidance sessions. Rhywbeth bach I bawb ohonoch chi. Cyfraniadau gan academyddion blaenllaw a chefnogwyr Seren. You'll hear from leading academics from Seren's partner universities, Seren ambassadors and alumni and current undergraduates. Also hear about some exciting upcoming opportunities and join us in the live question and answer sessions. Heno, tonight, the live session will be on understanding student finance scholarships and bursaries. Ac os oes gyda chi gwestiynau, if you have any questions on how student finance works, the support available to Welsh students, or how to manage your finances at university, please email them. seren@casba.wales. Yfory, fe fydd y pwyslais ar y rhyngwladol, yr ysgolion haf. Tomorrow in the live Q&As, we'll hear from a panel of experts on applying for international courses in summer schools. You'll hear all about the Seren summer schools beforehand, but any questions you have, again, please email seren@casba.wales. A chofiwch am yr elfennau pwysig eraill na. Remember that throughout the conference and beyond, you'll be able to access academic masterclasses in a range of disciplines and navigate yourself through our online exhibition. Our university partners have uploaded materials and resources to help you find out more about each institution. Gwybodaeth benodol am y sefydliadau a gallwch chi gweld ar unrhyw adeg. You can access these at any point, but between 6 and 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday and Thursday, colleagues from those universities will be available for live Q&As, where you can directly ask your questions and queries. Manteisiwch ar hyn ac ewch I siarad â nhw. Ar dosbarthiadau meistr yna, then the masterclasses, they'll help you explore the subject you might want to take at university. Alongside these, you'll also have access to a reflection document. Fe fydd na ddogfen fyfyrio I chi gael pwyso a mesur eich ymatebion. This document will help you think about which subject you enjoyed, which you didn't enjoy as much, and how what you have seen may have changed your thinking about what course you want to study. Yn ôl ein harfer, fel y gwelwch chi, rydyn ni'n defnyddio'r Gymraeg a'r Saesneg yma. Fodd bynnag, as many of our contributors are from outside of Wales, some of the presentations will be in English only. But you're free to ask any questions you may have in either Welsh or English. So before we begin, ychydig o fanylion I gadw trefn ar bethau. Here are a few housekeeping reminders. Ar ôl y cyflwyniadau cychwynnol, once we've heard from our exciting keynote speakers, you'll need to revisit the lobby, where you'll find links to the information advice and guidance presentations and the question and answer sessions. Once you've clicked on the link at the time shown, the session will start automatically. Ond bydd mwy o fanylion yn dilyn. You'll get more guidance on this from me later on. Felly gadewch I ni ddechrau. Let's get this conference underway. A rhoi croeso twym galon serenaidd. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to the Minister for Education and Welsh Language, Jeremy Miles.
Croeso mawr I Gynhadledd Flynyddol Academi Seren. Mae'n fraint i mi gael eich croesawu chi yma i Gynhadledd Genedlaethol Academi Seren 2021, gwyl dros 4 diwrnod sy'n cynnig cyngor, cefnogaeth, arweiniad ac arbenigedd i chi. Dyma'r 6ed gynhadledd. Yn ystod y cyfnod mae Seren wedi tyfu'n eithriadol ac wedi cefnogi miloedd o'n dysgwyr disgleiriaf. Dwi'n gwybod fod bron i 2,000 ohonoch wedi mynychu lansiad yr Academi nôl ym mis Hydref. Roedd yr ymateb yn ardderchog. You are one of Wales' brightest learners. You've proven yourself to be intellectually curious and ambitious. Whatever your academic ambitions, Seren will open routes to some of our leading universities and will encourage you continuously to widen your horizons. Seren will help you push yourself beyond the boundaries of what you thought you were capable of. We've created more than 500 summer school places supported by the world's best universities for you to apply for next year. I encourage you to make the most of these opportunities. Each of you has the potential to make a successful application, and I encourage you to apply. We started with 1,529 Seren learners. Today we have a record number of over 21,500, clearly showing that we have an incredibly strong cohort of high-achieving young people with tremendous potential to succeed, including you. Seren's ethos is collaboration, and you will have full support on your journey. Your Seren journey will give you opportunities to engage with others regionally, nationally and internationally, to push yourself, debate and compete at the very highest level. Pob lwc I chi gyd ar y daith honno, a diolch.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you, Minister. A nesa, neges arbennig arall. Next, it's time for a very special address about her special journey. Croeso mawr, Shelby Holmes.
Hello, my name's Shelby Holmes, and I'm delighted to be the keynote speaker for the Seren 2021 conference. I also spoke at the 2015 conference back in Cardiff, so it's always nice to be invited back. I'm just going to speak a little bit about myself to begin with. I'm from North Wales, a small town called Tywyn, right next to Rhyl on the beautiful North Wales coast, and that's where I grew up, spent most of my life there. I also come from a bit of an unusual background. We've heard about gypsy communities and Roma communities and traveller communities. I'm from a similar one. We're called showmen. We operate most of the fairgrounds in the UK, and indeed we do some internationally as well. And my family personally have done that for over 200 years, so it really is a family business. So we've done it for a long time, and we had a number of fairground attractions growing up. We had some kids rides. We had a beautiful, huge carousel that we used to travel around the country with. We also went to Hong Kong with it and Singapore, which is a big adventure. And that's what we did. So we had a bricks and mortar house in North Wales. That's where we lived for most of the time. And then we'd go out and travel for a week or two at a time, and then we'd come back home again. And that was really the rhythm of my childhood. So while I was at North Wales, I went to school, small state school in Denbigh called St Bridget's, which I'm still very fond of. And then we go out and travel for a bit, and we do all the major fairs, Nottingham Goose Fair, Hull Fair, and also the fair that happens in Oxford City Centre, St Giles, which we still do now. So that was what it was like growing up for me, not consistently at school. My highest attendance was in my final year of A-level, got to the lofty heights of 68%, which I thought was pretty good. My teachers, not so much, but that was pretty good for someone who was a showman, someone who travelled around most of the time. That was a pretty decent number, actually. I didn't necessarily like school, but I liked learning. I liked understanding about things, and I had some very supportive teachers. And I loved reading. I still love reading now. It's one of my great hobbies, my great interests. So I did my GCSEs, got a couple of Bs, a couple of As, a couple of A stars. And my English teacher, who was a big champion of mine, she said, Shelby, you should think about university. And I said, oh, okay, Oxford. And she said, oh, very ambitious. I didn't understand why she said the word ambitious. The reason I said Oxford was because we used to do the St Giles Fair, which I loved doing. And I fell in love with the city centre. I thought it was so beautiful, all this beautiful architecture and how it looked and how the city centre felt. And it felt so young as well because it was always so full of students. And I enjoyed my time running the fair at St Giles. So I thought that was a pretty nice pick. I didn't know that it was an ambitious place to come to. I hadn't looked at any university rankings. I just liked the place. So I went back home and, talked to mum and dad, and there was a lot of fear at home because my parents had no reason to trust the education system. Both of them had experienced physical violence and the more casual form of discrimination through teachers just not being very interested, sending them into the corner of the classroom with a colouring book because of who they were, their background, their heritage. It wasn't worth teaching people who travelled or people associated with the fairground. So it was a tough time for them to accept that this was what I wanted. And they did, and they were very supportive. But it was also a bit of a scary time for them as well. So not too bad, doing okay with GCSEs, doing very well actually. But I didn't in any way fit the bill of what we think of as an Oxford typical or stereotypical applicant, from North Wales, from this unusual background. So that was sort of where I came from, and my experience of life so far. School was a safe place for me, but it hadn't always been a safe place for other people of my background, and still isn't necessarily today. The particular forms of discrimination that I'd come across had actually happened outside of school, which I'm very thankful for. I'm thankful that school was a safe place for me. But I'd had bricks thrown at me from, age 14 onwards. I had people call me absolutely awful slurs and names and all sorts of things that you can think of. And people spit at me in the street once they knew, you're from the fairground, you're a showman, you're from this kind of background. So it's difficult, especially at a young age, to understand that some people hate you just because of who you are, because of your family, because of your background. So I think it would be easy to say that, maybe I thought I'd experienced similar things at Oxford. And it simply wasn't true. I was worried about fitting in when I put in the application, and then I started to understand actually, Oxford's a pretty good university. It's one of the best. And I came to interview, and I wasn't sure if this was a place that would be welcoming to me. And did my interview, and got my results, and I got in, which was amazing. And I spent 3 amazing years here at Oxford doing English, subject that I still love now, and I made friends that I still have now, my lifelong friends. And it's safe to say it's one of the safest places that I've ever been, physically and emotionally. It's a place where I do fit in. It's a place where I feel comfortable. And that was very special for me and for my family as well. It was wonderful for them to come here, in my first year, coming to visit me, making sure I was okay, and seeing not just how well I fit in, but how involved I was in everything, and how many friends I'd made, and that they didn't mind who I was, and actually thought it was really interesting that I had this background. So that was very reassuring for them. It healed a lot of cultural wounds there. So it took a big leap of faith for my parents to accept that this was a good move for me. And it takes a leap of faith for teachers as well to encourage students to aim for things like Oxford, because we think sometimes that we're setting these kids up for failure. We're setting students up for failure by telling them that this is a possibility. And I think we have to accept that at some point in young lives, you do get a rejection, you do get a knockback, you get a no. And it's going to be the first big no that you've ever heard for many people when it comes to UCAS applications. But that's part of life. And it plays into our theme for this conference, reaching for the stars. You can't reach for the stars if you don't occasionally fall a little. And for any students that are, listening or interested in this in any way, your intelligence and your academic ability is no longer in doubt. The only question remains is what you want to do with your gifts. And there isn't just one answer to that. The majority of students now won't have just one career or one industry that you work in, but multiple career pathways, and probably a variety of industries that you'll dip into over your lifetime. Reaching for the stars doesn't necessarily mean achieving your first goal or your immediate ambition. Don't get too wound up if plan A doesn't work out. You've got so much talent and ability. There's so many things that you can do. There isn't just one star to reach for, but a whole galaxy to explore. What you've come to appreciate is that there are so many opportunities available to you, more than you can imagine. When I started my degree here for English, I thought I really wanted to go into journalism. I did an internship with the Times, and it was a very interesting experience for me, but it made me realise actually, journalism isn't what I'm interested in. I've since gone on to do a number of things. I did an MBA in business management at Bangor, back in North Wales. I did a graduate diploma in history of art at Courtauld Institute, which I very much enjoyed. I've had a number of jobs. I used to work in the heritage industry, so I used to work in a lot of historic houses. My job previous to this role, I used to work at the Imperial War Museum, which is another place I enjoyed hugely. My current role is outreach officer for New College. It's definitely the best job I've ever had. I've fallen in love with it because I get to speak to students from all over the UK, especially Wales. And it's very important for me. During the pandemic, I think we all had a long think about what we wanted. And I came out of it deciding that actually what I wanted was to make sure that no one felt the indecision that I felt about whether this would be a safe place. It's so accepting, it's so multicultural, it's so diverse, it's got a bit of everything here. And it was something that I truly came to appreciate during my time here. Hopefully some people listening will come to appreciate as well when they come here or when they apply. So reaching for the stars, it doesn't have to be this big university or this particular goal, but you've got the ability to reach, so why not? Why not? So that's part of my outreach job at New College as outreach officer. I travel around the country speaking to state schools and hopefully more and more in Wales as time goes on. And it's a job that I wouldn't change for the world. It is the most rewarding experience I've had. So my time at Oxford wasn't just about getting this fabulous degree in English or getting a particular job. It was also about expanding my intellectual horizons, and I've become a lifelong learner because of it. So in terms of what stars I was particularly reaching for, I think not only was I reaching for somewhere to study, I was reaching for somewhere to call home as well. So I hope you enjoy the Seren conference. I'm very excited to hear from other speakers and indeed from our listeners as well. And best of luck to everyone. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the Seren 2021 conference. Thank you.
Stori ysbrydoledig yn wir. Diolch, thank you Shelby, so inspiring. A dyma newyddion arbennig i chi hefyd am wobr Seren. We're really excited to announce that there'll be a fourth wave of the Seren Award for Academy Learners. This opportunity exclusively for you to have the chance to work with an expert PhD tutor on a research topic. Ac os nawr wnaethoch chi gymryd rhan yn ddiweddar, if you did not participate in the award in November and December, you can apply for a place using the link shown on the screen now. Placements with PhD tutors will be getting underway at the end of January. You have until the 17th of December to apply. Hefyd i'r physegwyr yn ein plith cyfle arbennig i chithe. For you budding physicists, we still have places left on our coaching support program for the British Physics Olympiad in March. Seminars start later this month, and the deadline for applying is this Friday, 10th of December. If you're interested, then please speak to your Seren or physics lead in your school or college, who can sign you up. Cyfleon, cyfleon, cyfleon. More and more opportunities, maen nhw'n ddi-ben draw. Well, we'll now move on to our first information, advice and guidance session. Gwybodaeth, cyngor ac arweiniad. This session will provide you with the necessary information to make informed choices about university. Dyma dosglwyddo rowennau at Iwan Hopkins o Brifysgol Caerdydd, Cardiff University, who'll talk you through how to make decisions about what to study at university and how to choose where to go.
Hi guys, my name is Ewan Hopkins and I work for Cardiff University. Welcome to the Seren conference, and in particular this part all about making choices. I wanted to just give you a quick 5 to 10 minute talk through about what you can actually consider when moving forwards in terms of making your choices. You might be wondering, well, I definitely want to go to university, but I don't know how to find out more. I don't know what I can do. I don't know where I can go. First thing to say is that for every single person who wants to go to university, there is going to be a course and there is going to be a university for you. When you add all higher education institutions together, so universities, further education colleges, sports, art, music, drama colleges, there's around about 400 different places you can go to in the UK alone. And also when you look at UCAS, the Universities and Colleges Admission Service, when you look at their website, when you look at all their course choices, there's actually over 50,000 different courses you can choose from. So there will be something for everyone. It may take more time. I look back on my time when I was looking at courses. I've got a twin brother who had known for years he wanted to do a certain course, which was computer science, whereas for me, that really wasn't what I was looking for. So there were plenty of times where I thought, well, maybe I'm not going to find a course for me, maybe university isn't going to be for me. But just by doing a bit more research and by taking a bit more time and by looking at the sort of things I'm going to show you today and really sitting back and thinking about things, I was able to find the course I really wanted to study, which ultimately ended up being English language. So there's plenty of courses, plenty of universities you can look at and you can consider. In terms of where to start in looking at what you want to do, I'd always recommend trying to find a course first before you find a university. So once you found a course, then you can look at what places you can do it. But what we'd always say is think of the 4 C's. So think of your course, the campus and city, so where you want to stay, and also the career, so what you want to do next. But if we just start off with the course, like I mentioned, when it comes to the course, the best thing you can do and the most important thing to do is choose something you've got a genuine passion for. Choose something you've got a genuine interest in and that you want to study. University is going to be at least 3 years, in some cases 4 or 5 year courses like medicine, for example. So you've got to make sure that you're taking a course there where you are going to be engaged, you're going to come with new ideas, and ultimately you're going to want to learn more. I loved my course at university, and that's because I chose a course I had a real passion for and a genuine interest in. So it meant that every single day I was excited to learn more about that course in lectures, seminars and tutorials, and through independent work as well. So really, really important to make sure you're choosing a course where you have a genuine interest in that. And that could be something you're doing now at school or college. It could be a topic you've taken further research on. It could be a topic you've done some further reading into. Whatever you think, whatever your main interest and passion is for, try and find a course where you can do that. And like I said, the UCAS website is a good place to look because it's got all courses, all requirements and all information on there as well. But I'll talk you through different places you can find out more shortly. But always think about that as a starting point. Do you want to do a single or a joint honours? A single honours is one course on its own. A joint honours is where you can do 2 subjects together if you want to. So that's something else to consider. If you're finding it difficult to narrow down between 2 different topics, then maybe try and find a course where you can combine them and do 2 together. Other things you can look at is the actual modules you're going to study on the course. So when it comes to university websites, which I'll discuss shortly, you can find out about different options you can take as in terms of modules when you're actually on the course. So that can help you make an informed decision because you then know exactly what you're going to be learning and what you're going to have the option to learn as well. So that's something else to consider as well. Also think about if you want to do a placement or a year abroad. Not all courses, not all universities can offer you that. So if you do like the idea of doing a placement year for a certain course where essentially it'll be a 4-year course and you'll go out and get an extra year in industrial placement, a long year of work experience basically, then make sure you're finding a course where you can do that. But that's something else to consider as well. Also look at things like the requirements and make sure you're looking at courses where you are going to be realistically working towards those grades. But the main thing we'd say, just to finish off this bit about courses, is always think about your passion, think about what you want to learn more about, and think about what you enjoy and what you want to look into in further detail. The next stage then, you're looking at the campus and the city, so where you actually want to stay. So what do you want from your new home at university? Look into things like accommodation. Accommodation is where you're going to live in your first year for most students in halls or residences. Have a look into that online, find out what's available to you. How close is it to the university? Ask yourself all these different questions about where you're going to live. What sort of location do you want to be in? Do you want to be a campus university where everything is all on one campus, as the name suggests? So your lectures, your accommodation, your students' union, laundrette, shops, libraries will all be in one location, but you might be a bit further out from a city or town centre. What you'll have on the other side then is something called a city university, where things are a bit more spread out, not so much on one campus, but it's in the middle of a city centre. So bear those sort of things in mind and think about what suits you best. Think about what you're hoping for from your new location. Do you want to be in a city centre? Do you want to be near a beach? Do you want to be somewhere more rural, more countryside based? There's around about 150 universities all over the UK, so plenty of different places you can look into. Think about how far away from home you want to be. If you're realistically gonna want to come home fairly often, then you probably don't want to be going too far away, because it's going to get quite tricky then every Friday to try and manage that. In terms of a distance, it is down to every single student individually, but what we'd always say is a nice distance is around about 2.5 hours. That may sound like a lot at the moment, but when you actually get used to that journey to university from your home, it's actually not that bad. 2.5 hours is fairly manageable when you want to pop home and visit every now and then. Also think about transport links to and around the university. Other facilities, what are you expecting to do? Do you want to play lots of sports? If you do, look at the sports facilities, look at the Students' Union, look at the library facilities. If you're taking maybe an engineering course, look at the engineering facilities. There's loads of different things you can look into, and you can find out more about by looking at university websites. And then the last C would be looking at the career. So you might want to be looking ahead to the next stage. So what you actually want to do when you graduate. Don't worry, you don't need to know at the moment what you want to do when you're older. The Seren conference isn't a way of saying, right, you've got to decide now what you want to do in 5 years' time. It just might give you an idea into what sort of courses you may take. If you do have a career in mind, you might think, right, well, if I want to go into this, let's do a bit of research and find out what sort of course I've got to take to gain the necessary skills and be able to graduate into that sort of career. So it's really important to bear those sort of things in mind. So they're the 4 C's, so the course, the campus, the city and the career. That's the best place to start. But like I said, relax. It can be quite stressful. I remember many years ago when I was looking, it was very stressful trying to find the perfect course for myself. It does involve a lot of reading and research, but make the most of the time you've got. Speak to as many universities over this conference as you can. Speak to universities via email and phone numbers as well, and ask as many questions as you can, because you will find out all the information you need there. Just to finish off for the last minute, in terms of where you can go to find this information out, of course, university websites are going to be ideal because they'll list all the course information from grades, modules, and other stuff as well. It'll give you tips and guidance on applying to the university. It'll also have things like virtual open day dates. Virtual open days at the moment are great because it's a really easy chance to find out more about a university. Go on as many virtual open days as you can as well, because that'll really help you to find out more about different universities, and you can draw more comparisons. Currently, universities will most likely have more information online than they've had before because of the pandemic, because they know that students aren't as easily available to come and visit them. It means there'll be more information online than there's ever been at the moment. So make the most of it. It only takes 10-15 minutes to sit down, look at a university and make some notes, and then the following day you can look at a different university if you want to, and then start drawing comparisons like I said. Hopefully this has been a handy 10 minutes just to give you a bit of an introduction into how to start thinking about your options and how to start thinking about making choices, and also where. We hope you enjoy the Seren conference, and look after yourselves and take care.
Diolch yn fawr, Iwan. Thank you for that insight. More food for thought for our learners. And there's a lot more to come, llawer mwy I ddod. Wel, diolch I chi am rai cwestiynau sydd eisoes wedi'n cyrraedd ar gyfer y sesiwn fyw heno. Yes, many of you have already submitted questions to our live panel of experts, but keep sending these in. If we don't have an opportunity to answer them all tonight, we'll certainly publish them in the coming days. And now, amser I chi ddewis. It's now time to pick which presentation and follow-up Q&A you're going to attend. You can choose from applying for medicine, dentistry and veterinary courses, where you'll hear from Dr Naomi Stanton and Kirsty Pritchard, Prifysgol Caerdydd, Cardiff University, Glenn Cosby from the University of Bristol, Menai Evans o'r Coleg Cymraeg Cenedlaethol, Jonathan Turner from King's College London, and Darrell Abernethy from Aberystwyth School of Veterinary Science. Neu'r ail ddewis, the second option, a presentation on student finance, followed by the live Q&A on understanding student finance, scholarships and bursaries, with Philip Lyons from Student Finance Wales, Anna Williams, Prifysgol Bangor, Iwan Hopkins, Cardiff University, and Rhian Evans, Swansea University. On peidiwch a phoeni, don't worry if you like the sound of both these sessions, but can only attend one. Bydd cyfle I wylio eto. They'll both be available to view after the conference. These sessions will begin shortly. Take a look on the agenda for the exact time, so head over to the lobby to select your session. Ewch I ddewis!